Okay, the Buffalo Ranch is really good.
Hey
Their
guys,
buffalo actually has a decent kick to it. I feel like a lot of
Apple
places
Watch.
buffalo is not that hot. KFC's buffalo got a kick to it.
Uh,
Mm.
yeah,
Okay, I
started to
probably
feel a
prefer
little bit of
Impossible Buffalo,
anxiety,
but
so
the buffalo is still
decided to
very
film
good.
it
I'm gonna give it a big
to
thumbs
talk
up
to
for
all my
sure. I will see you
anxiety
guys at our next fast food spot for
um
more new items. All right, you guys, our next
havers
fast food
out
item
there.
is at Burger King, and this one I am super
So
excited
yeah,
for. So they have a
if you
new
watch any of my
candy
previous
bacon
videos,
Whopper, and
I
oh
told you
my
how
goodness,
blessed
it
I
looks
am,
so good. It says Burger King
how
offers a
I
new
have it
twist
pretty
on its
good,
signature
you
Whopper
know, as
sandwich
far
with the
as
introduction of the new candy
not
bacon
having to do
Whopper.
too
The
much
candy bacon
that'll
Whopper
stress me
features the
out.
brand's signature flame grilled beef
So
patty,
I don't
sliced
know what I'm
tomatoes,
stressed out
lettuce,
about.
crispy
I
fried
don't even know if
onions,
it's
garlic
stress.
aioli. Oh,
All
that
I
sounds
know
so
is I
good.
just
Sweet
suddenly
Haitian
feel
chicken and brown sugar
the
candy bacon
feeling of
on a sesame seed
panic,
bun. So
you know, and I'm just
I
like,
usually don't like
what
bacon
is
on my
it?
burgers, but
What's
something
going
about
on?
candied bacon just sounds very
Um,
elevated. I think it is going to be a very
I
salty
don't know
burger,
what's
but I
going
can also
on,
see it kind of having like a
but
sweet
I'm
top. So
watching,
we'll see how
currently
it goes.
watching
Okay,
Daisy
Melvin's
Sue.
about to square off with his face
Um,
right now.
yeah, so the anxiety just sort of comes uh, randomly. It doesn't like have any trigger. Like it doesn't, it's not like when I go a certain place or if I watch a certain thing or if someone says a certain thing. It's nothing like that. It's just, I could be having a perfectly fine day. Then once I start thinking about it, it's just like, it's here now. And I don't understand, excuse me, where that's coming from. It's really crazy. Get more in the frame. So, yeah, it's the weirdest thing. And my doctor says it's just my personality. I have an anxious personality. And uh, I think she's right. Because, like I said, there's nothing that triggers it per se. Nothing in particular that triggers my anxiety that I know of. It's just, personally, I tend to overthink things. So I don't know what it was before I turned this camera on that triggered it, but maybe it was something tiny that I turned bigger. I mean, my anxiety, I say right now, is more like at a 5 out of 10. It's not necessarily a 10 out of 10 right now. It's more like a 5 out of 10. So this is not my worst. You know, I'm not at my worst as far as my anxiety goes. This is a pretty, it's a cute anxiety. It's not a lot. So I just thought since I was feeling this way, I'd get on camera and record myself to maybe someone else out there who has anxiety too could see. Um, oh, this is just my Nielsen monitor. Um, I thought maybe someone out there could see this and maybe give some feedback because they probably going through the same thing, which they don't know what causes their anxiety. It just happens. And I've had this since I was, well, moving on. I've had this since I was about 21, 22 years old because I graduated high school in 2006. And once I got out of high school, I was pretty tired of school. So I began to start with some rebellious behavior, you know, just not caring anymore and doing what I really wanted to do and not really following rules anymore. So I think around that time of me graduating and starting with the rebellious behavior is when my anxiety started, really started, because that's, it was about 3 years out of high school when I wasn't doing anything with myself and I had a lot of idle time and I was getting in trouble. That's when it all started. So I think that's what could have caused it, but I'm not sure. My doctor says it's just my personality. But yeah, I've had it ever since then, and that was, well, I'd say around 4 or 5 years after I got out of high school, because I got out of high school in 2006, and the anxiety started in 2011, and that was around the time my uncle got sick, and he passed, and that was, the first time I had a close family member die. So yeah, it was a mix of a lot of things. Yeah, it was a mix of a lot of things. YouTube just sent me an email. It was a mix of all of that, and it's continuing, not as bad, but it's continuing into my adult life. It's the craziest thing. I thought it was just a phase. I thought it would just come and go, and it didn't. It stayed. It got worse. I also get these breathing panic attacks where it's not just a panic attack. Like, a panic attack is when your heart's beating fast and you're anxious, very, very anxious, and you can't control yourself. That happens, but it gets to a point where I also cannot breathe. Like, it feels like someone's grabbing my throat and squeezing, but that's not the case. It just feels that way. So my doctor also said that I can't die from that, because that's another scary thing, the breathing episode. She said I can't die from it because no one is actually squeezing my throat. That's how you would die. If somebody was suffocating you, you would die. But when that breathing attack happens, no one is doing this. So you're basically just going to snap out of it once your body calms down. So that was good to hear. Yeah, that I get that sometime. I don't get hives or anything, nervous hives. I just sort of have the panic attack, and the breathing issue hasn't happened in about 2 years, so I'm ruling that out. I'm guessing it's not going to come back. Yeah, so other than that, my anxiety's been pretty moderate lately. Another thing that happened a couple weeks ago was I was just out front helping my dad load a car onto like a lift, like where you drive a car up onto something and tow it to where it's gotta go. I was helping him load a car onto that, and I was listening to music. I was listening to Lil Wayne, and I always listen to Lil Wayne, but that particular day I was listening to it, and everything Lil Wayne was saying, I was just taking so to heart. Like, the things he was saying, I was thinking, am I not up to par with what Lil Wayne's saying? Like, I didn't do that, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, I didn't do the things he's saying he did. So this is crazy, I know, but it's all in my head. I'm thinking I'm not up to par or something with what Lil Wayne is saying. So I began to think and think and think, and before you know it, I couldn't even continue with the work because I was panicking so bad. And I came inside and I just didn't know what to do with myself, so I went to use the bathroom, which alleviated it a little bit. But I came out and I still felt the same way. So I went outside and sat down in the fresh air. Not even though I was outside before. I had to go outside again in the backyard and just get some air. And I felt a little better. And I was like, wow, what in the world is happening to me? But yeah, I came back in my room and just sat down and laid down because I was supposed to follow my dad somewhere. And I told him I have to lay down a little bit before we go. I didn't think I could make it. So eventually he came in and told me, oh, we're not going anymore. So I was relieved. So after I was laying down and I was just watching YouTube, I was watching a quiet video, and I just felt like, am I going crazy, or was I just having a panic attack again? And it just doesn't make any sense because I have the panic attack, and 5 minutes later I'm fine. Okay. 5 minutes later, I'm fine. So it's the weirdest thing. It's like a chemical imbalance in your brain, which is what causes panic attacks. Or something like that. I was talking to my doctor about it. It's the strangest thing. So my first panic attack happened when I was telling you it first started after high school, around the time my uncle died. What happened that night was I was never had anxiety before in my life. I was about 21, 22 years old, maybe 23. I was sitting in my room around, it was maybe about 7, 8 o'clock, right? Huh?